Hey.
Hi.
Okay, so the funniest thing, we were just talking about, like, oh, what are we going to do on today's episode? We were saying that the past 2 episodes have been a lot about, well, one was a lot about, like, friendships and relationships.
Yes.
And the amount of feedback we get when we do an episode about friendship compared to romantic relationships is, like, sort of wild.
So I was saying to Em while we were discussing this that I think one of the reasons is that there's so much information about romantic relationships.
And 30,000 volumes of the Cosmo magazine.
So many. Did you used to read Cosmo?
No, I feel like I read Glamour, but like obviously like I always like read like 17.
I read Cosmo.
But I haven't read a magazine since.
Same. Do you think magazines are just going? I mean,
I think
they're all getting digital.
Most print magazines are. Yes.
I did. You know what I loved? I forget if this was Cosmo or maybe it was like.
Let's be honest. It was Us Weekly, and we all wanted Us Weekly, and that's all we all wanted.
I know, it was the best. But I think in Cosmo there was like an advice section.
Yeah.
That I loved.
It was probably, thinking back now that we know, there was probably really poor advice.
It was probably terrible.
We should go find. Oh wait, let's do a whole episode of us reading shitty advice.
Oh my God! First of all, that's a great idea.
But remember, okay, so you know, like the Dear Abby, remember that time I sent you that? All right, so my husband's from a very small town.
Very small?
Like so small to the point where there is no.
Can you talk about the skunk picture?
Oh, you want to talk about how my husband had a pet skunk? I feel like people don't believe me when I talk about my husband's upbringing.
Can you please get permission from Aaron to post that on social media, please?
Okay. I was allowed to post it on my personal social media, but he was like, please don't put it on ShrinkChicks.
Okay.
So, like, I'll go back and ask
so
now.
sorry.
No, I'll go back and ask now because now he'll let me do it. Now that he hears this. But, okay, so my husband's from a very small town. Like there's not, like, really traffic lights or self-service or anything. But they have this amazing newspaper called the Meadville Tribune, which is basically just like small town newspapers are phenomenal. So the Meadville Tribune has an advice column, but it must have come from something else, like a Dear Abby type of thing. And remember that time I sent you a picture and like somebody sent in this whole thing and Dear Abby responded and was like, I highly recommend going to work with an LMFT.
You're kidding me.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember
3 years ago. I was like, hell yeah, Abby! Which I don't think is Dear Abby anymore. I think it's like her granddaughter and it's like something. I don't know.
I never listened to Dear.
Listen. No, she's in a newspaper. I don't think you... Jen, what? It's not Delilah.
That's who I was thinking of. So I can't take Delilah. I don't know why.
I know. You want to.
I want to.
It's sexual and soothing at the same time.
It's very soft. It's like oddly soft.
Yes. So I have no idea how we went back to this. Oh, okay. Magazines.
Right. And we were also trying to figure out what to talk about today.
Yes.
And we were saying that when we talk about friendships, it gets so much more.
So many people write in.
So many people write in because I think that there's not a lot of information about it. And I think at different points in our lives, and a lot of our listeners, I would say, are probably like around the same time period as us.
Time period? Do you mean age? the Mesotopian time period.
Mesotopian?
My daughter's really into dinosaurs right now.
Is she? Have you watched Jurassic Park with her?
No, Jen. She's fucking doing it.
I don't know how that shit works. I don't know. Like, when is there appropriate...
She watches The Land Before Time.
When's the appropriate time
to watch Jurassic Park? Probably. I don't know.
What was your first rated R movie? Do you remember?
Oh my God. Yes, I do know. Okay, I can tell you exactly what it was. My first rated R movie is really very, like, it's sort of wild. Okay, so my first rated R movie with my parents was Con Air. Like, do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Okay. And then my first radar movie that I watched, like, without my parents that we, like, snuck was Cruel Intentions. And one of my best friends, like, somehow some kid she went to school with, his uncle, like, so, like, it was, like, it wasn't, like, a pirated version, but it was, like, basically, like, for, like, critics or something beforehand. Version. So every 20 minutes in the show, a thing would come up that was, like, if you're watching this, like, this is not intended to be watched for viewing. Like, we kept getting this warning, and we're like, oh, man, but Cruel Intentions was highly sexual.
Very sexual. A lot of drugs in that, too.
I don't remember that part. All I remember is sex. Because I was just like, whoa, okay. Cool.
Do you want to hear my first rated R movie?
What was it?
Blade.
Oh, my God.
With Wesley Snipes.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Violent.
Like, why was
What'd you think of that?
I probably fell asleep. I fell asleep at everything. I swear to God, my first concert was an Alanis Morissette concert.
Well, that'll put you to sleep.
Is incredible.
Yeah. Mine was Cher.
I passed out.
Wait, like fell asleep. Oh, you fell asleep. You didn't pass out.
Oh, right. I didn't
okay.
I mean,
well,
like,
with you never know.
Fair.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, good point.
Thank you for that clarification.
But I fell asleep at everything. So chances are I fell asleep at Blade.
Yes.
So like my first rated R movie that like I watched the first 2 minutes of.
Yeah, I wonder what Millie's will be. Now, every time if I have a show on and Millie comes in the room, she'll say, and it's like, she says, no people, just dinosaurs. No people, just so dinosaurs.
Do you think she's going to be like a
paleontologist? That would be super cool, man.
That would be so cool.
I could not care at all what Millie is. Like, I do not feel any type of attachment towards her future careers.
I feel like that's very healthy.
I hope she never has to work because we win the lottery and her life is free and she can travel. That will never happen.
How amazing would that be?
That would be my hope for her.
Can I have like a few hundred if you win?
You can have $300.
Thank you so much. That's the kindest thing.
$300. No, I would buy us a full wellness center.
Thank you so much.
Right?
And can we just get all of the wellness?
Yeah, but we'll just get the services.
We'll get the services. We can walk in there.
Yes.
Maybe like a free massage.
Yeah. I mean, all I want to do is go to Korean day spa. It's like all I want to do at all times. I know.
I'm down for that.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. We're going kayaking today.
We are going kayaking today. We'll put some pics up.
We're trying really hard to
have more work-life balance.
And we're doing that with each other too.
Because then we feel... Well, I feel like because when we're alone, we'll just do more work.
That's the problem.
As opposed to like the accountability of like, no. We need to go out and be in nature and we like
know
ground ourselves. Yeah.
Because it's summer, like we're giving ourselves more space to do that.
Yes.
We know when it's fall, every November.
It gets wild.
And we change something grows in the business for some reason.
Hopefully that does not happen this year.
Right.
It's going to happen, isn't it?
It's going to happen this year.
Okay, great. So let's go back to friendships. Let's go back to friendships that we're talking about, which, so then we started to have this conversation about like, okay, so there's just like which is so wild. If you think about how insanely important and formative friendships are and how little we talk about them and the importance of them and why they matter and all this stuff, right? Like, I feel like we hear it in a very surface level of like my girl gang.
Yes.
Right? My vibe tribe. Like really like a horrible
I have
item.
Never heard my vibe tribe.
Well, get on social media. But... brings up this topic of friendships and social media.
And that's social media is something that we touch on in a lot of different ways. But we also wanted to touch on it because I think there's so many nuances of it in our friendships.
Yeah.
And how, like, for example, FOMO is a huge thing that I think.
Yes. Fear of missing out.
Yes. Right? And that it's so easy to I think part of the reason why social media is really helpful is that it helps us know what's going on in people's lives.
Yeah.
Without talking to them.
Absolutely. Right.
You could just be like, they went to the apple orchard this weekend.
Yes.
In the
it's July.
Fall.
Yeah, in the fall people be loving their apples.
Yeah. I have never been to an apple orchard.
Yeah, I mean, it's overhyped. Let's be honest. People are in it for the pictures. You end up with way too many apples. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, I know, 2 weeks later, you're like, what am I going to do with all these apples? That's the biggest issue.
So I think that that's a good, part of it is knowing what's going on in people's lives, right? And it's hard to keep up with everyone when you have your day, when you're going and going and going on your day to day.
You know what's funny is that like when you say like one of the good things about it, one of the things I truly use Instagram for the most though is information.
Ooh.
Like, I feel like I'm following more information as opposed to, like, people at this point.
So, and I love that. And I love, because you send me, like, interesting information. And it's really wonderful.
I like learning.
It's really wonderful. I get very overwhelmed.
Yeah, you do.
By social media. Just because of the... just the overload, right?
Yes.
Like, it feels very overly stimulating to me. So I can't necessarily get my information there because I'm so overloaded. I saw recently that like Virgos actually don't post on social media. I don't know if that's just
really.
I don't know. I was like, wow, I really connect to that.
Do you know every time I look at my horoscope, I also look at yours?
You do?
Did you know? Like every time I see one of those like meme things and it's like Libras, I'm like, oh, what's the Virgo one say? Because I send them to you all the time. It's because I'm always looking at them. Nice. But I'll do like also like look at my daughters, like look at some other people's. Yeah, man, like think about them.
How am I doing today?
I didn't look at that one today. We'll look at it after this. Yes, yeah.
We should do a whole episode. We should bring like a horoscope expert on.
I think that's called astrology.
Right. Right. did you learn that on social media?
Yes. Yes. Okay, but so for you, it's like overly stimulating. I feel like I get a lot of information, but I feel like people that have a very difficult relationship with social media, it's a lot of because of what they see other people doing and feel less than themselves.
And I think
especially in the summer, right? I see so-and-so traveling. And that's why so many people were like, oh, I really loved the part of COVID that we were like all in the same boat.
There was no pressure.
There was like everyone was inside. No one was doing anything. It was lovely because like you didn't feel like you were missing out on anything. Now it's like, oh, when I see people traveling together and I don't travel, like any of these things, I think it's so easy to feel like, once again, I'm behind.
Right. Or I'm not doing enough in some way. Here's a great example. So apparently we don't post enough of ourselves on our social media.
We've been told.
We have been told. And so people want to know more personal things. So anyway,
listen to the podcast. We talk about ourselves all the time.
All the time. Right. And so I, like, on my personal social media, I really don't post that much at all.
I do a lot of stories.
Which is great. And I love it. I love looking at your stories. I love looking at other people's.
So I'm like, funny on my own, though.
You're hilarious.
Yes.
But I just never post on social media. But on our ShrinkChicks page, I am being asked today, actually, to gather pictures of my summer. And I was actually asked to do this 2 weeks ago, and I was like, guys, I can't do that. First of all, I have not done anything.
But you have. But you're also just not taking pictures.
That's the thing. I don't take pictures.
Yes, yeah.
And so I'm like really struggling with gathering all of this stuff because I'm like, okay, I haven't really documented anything I've done.
Yeah.
And I don't really do that on my own personal one.
No.
But it feels like a lot of pressure.
Well, so what's your fear? What are you worried about?
I think it's just having enough. I'm going to post like one picture. It's going to be of Louie. Like,
it's going to be of your dog and us kayaking today.
That's literally it. I've literally tried to do, since I found this out, I've tried to do so many things.
And what has happened?
Pictures of them.
Yeah. You're like, everything I've done in 3 days.
Everything I've done. No, but it does. It feels like a lot of pressure. Well, and it also, I think that I am battling with the fact that other people look at these pictures and might feel bad themselves if they're like, oh, I'm not doing it. You know, like that I have trouble feeding into that.
Yeah.
I guess I could put that in the caption.
Yeah.
Right?
You could put that in, right? I would say, like, and if this wasn't what your summer looked like, that does not mean mine is more valid or more worthy.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that is an important, cool thing to
and
include.
Also, like, there was a lot of time I spent.
It's a highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of time I spent, like, watching TV shows.
Or crying.
Or crying, right? But, like, taking pictures of that. Yes. I'm not like, oh, my God, I really need to document the fact that I'm doing
sobbing,
this.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's also not just about the fact that it's a highlight reel.
We should actually 100% start documenting how much TV we watch because we love television. I'm going to start taking selfies between me and my best friend, the television.
Yeah. We should name it.
Telly. I love television. I don't give a fuck.
That was first of all, very original name.
Thank you.
Telly, of course.
Duh. But, like, I mean, I love television, and I feel like people are embarrassed to talk about the TV they watch. I don't feel that at all.
At all.
It's half of my personality.
But I think there's so much to analyze in TV.
There's so much to analyze. I know. We get to talk about this.
I think it's feeding our brain in a lot of ways.
Yeah. But when you log into social media and you see that Shelly down the block has been at the beach and Joyce on the corner has been going to amusement parks.
These are very clearly like suburban.
Yes.
Emily's suburban neighbors.
And I'll just name all of them.
Yeah.
Michelle on the corner. She is right, like going camping, like all these things. Yeah. And it can make you feel like, oh, I'm doing nothing and I'm wasting and losing all this stuff. Right? And so if you want to take it as being inspired of, oh God, I'd love to check out that hiking trailer. Oh man, it is super easy to go rent these kayaks, right? Like something like that. I think that's fabulous. But I think it's important to understand, why do we go to a place of self-deprecation and shame as opposed to inspired or I'd like to do that too?
I think we have a natural inclination to compare ourselves, right? Like we all want to improve in some way, right? Like there's I think just as human beings, right? Like even from like an evolutionary perspective, we have this like natural propensity to want to grow.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the way in which we attempt to do that is to compare ourselves to others by saying like, oh, well, I'm not doing enough because X, Y, and Z, like all these people are doing this.
Yeah.
But that very often hurts us, right? Instead of helps us. And I think that, we're well-intentioned, our brains are well-intentioned when that happens, but we have to really question that, because when you're comparing yourself to a highlight reel, you're not getting the full picture.
Yeah.
And it's really just unfair to compare yourself to anyone but you.
So there's been this big push, I feel like, on social media about how many influencers sell skincare products while having filters on. Have you seen this whole thing?
I haven't. Of course I haven't, because
yes, because you're not on social media.
I'm
right?
overwhelmed.
But like more and more influencers are being called out for being like, dude, you're like sitting here advertising the skincare, but you have a fucking filter on your face. So like you're sitting here saying, hey, look how good my skin looks. Like, no shit, man, it's a filter. We all look great with that filter on. 100%. And I think that like
they have like the cat ears
yes.
like on. And I magically
it's
totally natural. It's fine.
But I feel like there is something to that metaphor.
Yeah.
Right? Of like how much, right? Because you say like when you put stuff up, in general, we usually just like want to share our shit. But there are some people that put stuff up that do want you to feel a type of way. It is about you being jealous, don't you think? There are people that post in that way.
Absolutely. But, and then what does that mean about them? Like, what's the reason why?
Well, don't you feel like it's very keeping up with the Joneses?
Yeah, but there's like clearly an insecurity there, right, for them, where there's this need to post something, or I guess the thing that I have trouble with is the fact that so much of it is inauthentic, and but I don't think all of it. I don't think everyone posts as a way to be like, oh, I'm going to mask, all of these other parts of myself.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because like, so we're talking about, I think a lot of ways we're talking about Instagram, right? But then there's a lot of people that will come out and say like, oh, well, TikTok people are so authentic. But there's also a lot of misinformation on TikTok.
So much.
Right? Like, I think TikTok is like, it's so manic.
So TikTok's actually, for some reason, easier for my brain.
Yes, I had to delete it.
Because
both Nikki and I deleted our TikToks.
I did not.
Because we felt we were being unhealthy with it.
Oh, yeah. No, I felt great about it. I'm loving it. Yeah. I think
but don't you ever see stuff on it? You're like, this is like, nuts.
When that happens, if there's something, I try to be, because I talk to my clients about this all the time. I try to be very conscious of what I'm feeling while I'm scrolling on things, because I realize that there's certain things, like honestly, I'm redoing a lot of stuff in my house. So if I'm looking at like videos of people who are just like making their houses so incredible, that feels difficult for me. Because I'm like, I know that I'm not going to be able to do that.
No.
Right? Like, it's not going to happen.
You're not rich.
I'm not rich. My house will never look like that. I have a house in the city that doesn't have those like high ceilings.
No, nothing. Yeah.
And so but I'm very conscious of that while I'm doing it. And I'll be like, okay, like I've seen too many like amazing houses that are like making me ill. So like I need to get off of this.
Yeah.
But it's easier for my brain to look at TikTok because it's just giving me one at a time. Whereas with Instagram, you can click on a million things
at once.
Just like scroll on them. It's too overwhelming for me.
I mean, I talk to clients a lot about taking social media breaks. And the number one thing I hear from people is sometimes a fear of becoming irrelevant. Oof. If they do that. How will I connect to people? Will people forget about me? Will I not be included in stuff anymore? Like, it's so interesting. Just the idea of deleting an app can bring up feelings of like rejection and abandonment.
Right. Well, there's this like fear of disconnection, right? And if you're not seeing, of course we can't see all of our friends all the time.
No.
But it's understandable that there would be this fear of disconnection, right? If everyone else is posting and everyone else knows this thing about one of our friends and I don't, right? If I get off social media and I don't know that, then automatically I'm not included. And just as we are social human beings, like it is survival in a way for us to be part of a group, for us to feel connected to people. And so our brains have that pull towards like, I need to feel connected. That's why like feeling left out, fear of missing out is like a huge, very anxiety provoking.
Because at the end of the day, we all just want to be included.
Exactly.
Right?
And so I think that there's such a fear of that anxiety when we say, I need to take a social media break. And I also need to figure out, how do I stay connected to people when it's not through social media? You can text them.
Yes. You know, there's so many people like, okay, but think about it. There are people that I respond to on social media that I would literally never text.
Same.
Right? Like there's people that I'll like be like, oh my God, that's adorable. Right? Like, or like, haha, that's hilarious. But like, I don't, one, half these people I don't even have their phone number.
Right.
And two, I would never text them.
How do you feel about that aspect of it? Long pause.
I don't know what that says about me. I didn't really make that connection until right now.
Yeah.
What do you think that says?
Well, I don't know. I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, but then, because then my first thought was like, man, like if I think these people are so groovy, why didn't I get their phone numbers?
I'm so thrilled that you said that.
Right? Like I could like reach out to these people, you know what I mean? Like in a different way.
I wonder if there's something about it that's like less vulnerable, right? Like
oh my God, of course, replying to a meme compared to texting someone.
100%. Well, and also like
it's triangulation.
It's, oh God.
Yes. At its core, isn't social media triangulation?
Yes, because, well, and also it gives you a way to connect over something, right? Like if you were to just text someone, you'd be like, hey, what's up? Like, excuse me. Hey, what's up? Like, how are you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, that there's not, right. There's a level of triangulation that's really helpful.
Yep.
Wow.
That's it, right? And so with that triangulation, it diffuses the anxiety so I can have interactions. If I can sit here and have a funny interaction about a meme or talk about something on the internet, it gives me an intro.
Right.
There's a book called Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that he talks about in this book is the importance of name tags at events and how when people wear name tags, they interact so much more. If you go to an event with name tags and people can like walk up and be like, oh, Jennifer, right? Like it automatically gives you an intro and I automatically feel connected because I know your name. I know that it's the right name. I'm not like nervous saying it. It gives me something.
That makes so much sense.
Right? So when you have a name and then another identifying thing on that name tag, all of a sudden I have an interaction, I have a connection with you. That connection can keep building.
Right. I love that. And I very much connect to the like nerves about not knowing someone's name.
Well, and that's actually I think one of the things that works about the Zoom networking events.
Right, because you can see the names.
Exactly. It's built in name tags.
It makes it so much easier. If I introduce myself to someone, like I'm so focused on saying my own name.
Yeah. I forget theirs half
the time. Forget theirs. But at the end of the conversation, I always say, remind me of your name again.
Yeah.
Because it's actually really important for me to like know the person's name.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm just introducing myself to their dog first.
Always.
100%.
I won't forget your dog's name. That's for sure.
Not, right. Your dog does not have to say their name twice.
No way.
Immediately.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense with social media, right? Because not only do you have their name, you have anything they're interested in, you know everything about their lives that they want to show you.
Yes.
And so it makes us feel more connected to people that usually we would never connect with.
Well, it's funny, like, so like my first thought when you just said that was like, oh, like I could know someone's political party, so like I can make sure I don't say something that is problematic, right? Or like I know sort of in general what kind of your beliefs are for some people. It makes me feel safer connecting to you.
Right. There's like a protective mechanism in it,
yes.
right? Whereas if you're just, I know I keep comparing it to just like texting someone.
Yeah.
But there's so much more vulnerability in that because, right, the social anxiety that comes with trying to connect with someone, right, where you're wanting to connect with them, you don't want to offend them. There's so much anxiety that can come from that. But you're right, like with social media, there's such a safety in that and being able to say, okay, I know all these things about you. Like I can also say like, oh, I saw you went on a trip a few months ago. Like, how was that trip?
Yes.
You know, like it gives me an in to be able to talk about those things.
Except for, have you ever gone up to someone and said the wrong thing? Let me tell you a story. Okay, let me tell you a story about how when Millie was like 3 weeks old and I was like losing my mind and I was like, I got to get out of this house. I'm losing my freaking mind. So in the middle of winter, I was like, let's just go to Trader Joe's. I was like, let's just take the baby to Trader Joe's. I got to do this, right? This girl, I see her and like the second I see her, I'm like, I know this chick. But I'm thinking it's my friend's. I'm thinking that it's a friend. My friend's brother's wife. It was not. It was actually, this is very funny, who listens to this show, Amanda, my friend Amanda, Liz's sister Amanda.
We've talked about Liz.
Yes, I know. Poor Liz. it was one of Amanda's friends, but I confused it. So like I had met her a few times and I went up and I was like, oh, that video of your daughter. I was like, oh, the video is.
Say I don't have a daughter.
No. She was like, that was not me. And I was like, oh. And then she was like, it was funny because she was like, how are you sleeping? And I was like, oh, it's been great. Because at the time I was like still delusional and insane and pretending like everything was fine postpartum. And so I'm like, oh, it's all been great. And after I walked away, I was like, oh my God, I just pretended like I'm fine. I said the wrong name to this girl. It's like the most embarrassing interaction I've ever had. I just called her daughter the wrong name. I talked about her daughter pretending to be Santa Claus in a bathtub, a video I saw of someone else's kid on social media. Like I just really bombed this interaction.
But at least you tried, right? A for
I
effort.
really tried.
Really,
and I was like, and what's your daughter again? I was like,
what's going on? I just call everyone's child Babe.
Oh, how's the babe?
How's the babe?
That's smart.
Because let me tell you.
A lot of names.
A lot of names I have to remember.
Yeah.
It's a lot of names, a lot of birthdays.
You don't remember birth. You don't need to remember that.
I feel like I do.
I barely remember my daughter's birthday.
Right. February.
Good job.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Do you want me to guess the day?
Yeah, guess the day.
25th.
Wow.
Is that it?
Yes. Holy shit, that is impressive.
Thank you.
But, okay, bring up birthdays, social media, right? Like the feeling of that I need to get a billion people to say happy birthday.
And I have to say, Facebook is just thriving because it tells me when everyone's birthday is. That's the only reason I'm on Facebook.
Facebook thrives because of private groups, Facebook Marketplace, and birthdays.
Facebook Marketplace is
fabulous.
There's
so many finds on there.
Things, and if you try to sell anything, goes in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's annoying to get them to actually come get it and stuff, but yes, very quick interaction, yes.
But yeah, Facebook is still thriving because of those things. I'm surprised that no other social media has picked up like the birthday thing.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the only way I know people's birthdays.
I think Twitter has it. And I think Snapchat does.
I am never on Twitter.
You know I love Twitter.
I know.
It's like my news source.
And I honestly, and I have tried to get on Twitter. It's like I'm telling you.
I don't post ever. Yeah. I just lurk.
Yeah.
That's even TikTok.
Lurking's the move.
Yeah. Lurking's the move.
But it's the same kind of thing. I get too overwhelmed by like the amount that's happening there. I just rely on you to send me important things.
You know I send you everything.
Is that okay?
I'm very good at sharing information.
Snapchat.
That's done, right?
Done.
I think for us. Yeah, tons of people are on it, but for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely done. Mm-hmm. So, but in the end, right, we're talking about the things that are really positive about social media and the things that can be really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of push and pull. And one thing that, just to reiterate, is to know what works for you.
Yeah.
And what doesn't work for you.
Social media can serve you. It doesn't have to just like be something you consume. You can be consciously aware of like how it's served you and how you consume it, and like that makes a big difference. And taking breaks from social media, you do not become irrelevant or disappear.
Yes,
it's very healthy to do.
Well, and I know we frame this with every topic in the same way, but like me and Emily are talking about how there's certain things that work for her
They're very different
that don't work for me, and certain things that work for me that don't work for her. And that you have to figure out your own personal brand of what works for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people say that like, oh, I can't even follow like your Instagram posts because like I like read too deep into them, right? Like, or I like, and I'm like, yeah, then like don't read that.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's like everything is too nuanced to put up in a single slide.
And it also doesn't pertain to everyone.
Of course not.
Right? Like there's certain things, I always say take the things that work and throw out the things that don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with social media. And sometimes I'll also recommend like if it's too overwhelming for you to be on social media, like Instagram, for example, you're seeing all your friends' stuff, you're feeling a lot of FOMO, you're feeling, like very left out, uncomfortable, you can make another Instagram account that just follows things that feel good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like just creating one.
It's private. Yeah.
I go on our business one.
You love our business one.
More than anything else.
Yes, you do.
I never go on my personal one. And I'm seeing all these quotes all the time. That's like pretty much all I'm seeing. Just like other therapists that are posting things.
See, that for me is like, that's like nauseating to me.
Yeah, no, I'm like a bit nauseated by it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I feel like it's too
much.
We're
nauseated by other by ourselves.
By ourselves.
We do that exact thing.
Well, speaking of nauseated, dear Em and Jen. Speaking of nauseated,
that was a great segue. Hold up. All right. Drum roll.
That was a good drum roll.
That was really beautiful. Okay. I'm trying to think of which one to do. Let's do this one.
Okay.
Dear Em and Jen, best way to professionally tell your boss you need a mental health day if they don't get it.
I mean, I don't think you have to specify what it's for.
Right.
I would lie.
Me too.
If your boss doesn't get it and doesn't respect it, it sucks, right? Because we want to be like, we should normalize this. We should talk about this. But before you advocate, you take care of yourself first. The only way you can continue advocacy work and continue destigmatizing stuff is for you also to take care of yourself. It's the whole, put on your mask before you put on others, right? So I would say if you have a boss that is not respecting you, the fact that you're taking days off and asks you, like, one, you're allowed to say, like, oh, that's private, like why I'm taking off.
Yes.
Like, you don't actually owe it to anyone to give information.
The thing that really triggers me with this is that we get sick days, right? Like if you're an employee, you get sick days. But
this only pertains to the United States, for the record, and
I know.
shitty policies.
But sick days only are connected to physical health.
Yes.
Right? And I'm so sorry. There's something in my throat.
Speaking of sick days.
I think I need one.
Would you like a taste of my...
I'm not a black cherry fan, but...
my black cherry seltzer?
I'm going to try it.
I know. Sorry.
But that's what I find really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sick day.
A sick day is about physical health.
Well, I always think about it as like, oh, I am sorry, I actually have an appointment. It's an appointment with yourself.
Yes.
I got an appointment with myself that day. I cannot come. I'm not available.
It is an all-day appointment.
I have an appointment.
But like, if you think about it, right, we talk a lot about, and we've spent a lot of time this summer saying we need to take like a week off of clients because we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of other people. But we've really noticed, and I don't want to speak for you, so please correct me if this doesn't connect to you, but I'm assuming that it does, but I don't want to assume, is that it is so helpful to take that break.
Yes.
And this is why vacations are helpful. Like even one day where you're like, I'm going to take this day to myself, the day after feels completely different.
Yeah.
And it really is, when you take a sick day for your mental health, it really is nurturing you. Like it really is giving to you in a way that helps you be more productive, be a better worker.
What was the company this year that came out and did a full close down everything for a week? What was it?
I don't know.
Was it?
You probably found it on social media, and
I did
not.
Linked. Was it Bumble or LinkedIn or something? It was like some company, like a large company that shut everything down for a full week and said, like, to prevent burnout, like, we are closing everything for 1 week.
Whoever they are.
God, who was that?
I don't know, but I hope that more.
I need to know. Where's your phone?
Oh, here.
Because that is a cool organization.
That is so.
Wasn't Amazon.
Shut it. They're going to the moon.
In a penis.
It was a penis.
I know. I can't. Don't even.
I'm sorry. We can take that to other level.
I cannot. That as I order something on Amazon Prime.
What you post, the meme you post on social media was hilarious.
Thank you.
Shutting down for a week
to prevent burnout.
Company.
It's like who was it? It was somebody amazing. And how cool is that?
That is so cool. I am so sorry that this is taking so long for me to
Everyone already turned off the episode. Doesn't matter. We're just doing this for ourselves now.
It was LinkedIn and Bumble.
There. Wow.
I am pretty sure from what this says. I mean, for LinkedIn, Bumble, and others.
Wow.
The answer is to shut down company-wide for a full week.
I know. I love that. Yeah.
That should be a thing.
We should do that. We should figure out how we can do that.
We can just
do it.
Well, we very much preach in our business at the therapy group that our clinicians take breaks when
all the time. Yes.
It's so important for healthcare professionals to take breaks when you're taking care of other people. You got to take breaks for yourself. It's essential. Like it's really essential because you're going to get it's so easy to get burnt out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people who are in helping fields are naturally empathetic. And are caretakers. And so it's so easy for us to give and not think about what we need.
Yeah.
And so that's why we very much preach that in
But back to this, dear Em and Jen.
Yes.
I think that
we didn't even answer the question.
If you're someone who's in a mental health place to advocate and say to yourself and say, actually, mental health is part of health.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm taking a sick day. I strongly encourage you to advocate for that. But if you are not in a place, then you lie. And I know that might sound difficult.
It's a white lie.
I don't give a fuck if it's a red, yellow, purple, goddamn tie-dye lie. It's do what you have to do to take care of yourself, right? Like, so if you're in an advocacy place, that's great. But also, if you're not, fuck it, lie. You're sick. You have an appointment. The appointment's with you and your goddamn bathtub.
100%. You don't have to say anything else.
Same thing with taking a break
appointment
from social
with your
media.
bathtub. I'm sorry I glazed over that.
Thank you. All right.
Groovy. Thanks for being groovy with us.
No problem. Hey, if this episode related to you or anyone else, I'm not sure who would, at this point, frankly, by the end of this 40 minutes here. Yep. Please rate, review, subscribe on Apple. It's follow. And we will see you next week because to grow yourself, you got to know yourself.